smaller. But what was really funny when I studied in French, it was funny for me because Vienna was something like New York was the top of the art scene, and Vienna was on the end of world, and Slovakia was white. And always I say I am living 60 kilometers or 70 kilometers from end of the world. It was very funny.
Schauen wir mal. One of the questions is, what do you expect from the Viennese art scene or from the situation here? Just to be left alone, or do you want some sort of engagement?
Well, if you live as an artist here in this environment, I think it's a necessity to get engaged with the Viennese art scene. I mean, otherwise I would go somewhere else, or I can say, okay, I'm living in a cocoon here in Vienna, and then I reach out and do my things here and there and there and there. But I think it's also for an artist an interesting topic to be engaged with the local scene. Even I wouldn't limit it to that, that's for sure, because this is just, you know, like one part of the discussion. And I'm very happy that, you know, I'm doing projects abroad. I'm working with other artists and collaborating with artists outside from Vienna. So I would not like really think, you know, in this kind of narrow point of view to the art scene of Vienna. But I think I can really add, you know, to what you have been saying, that the art scene in Vienna changed a lot during the past years. It was like within the last, I think, few years, it was like an ongoing change. It got far more international. It got from several points of view, and I think that, of course, made the whole art scene much more vivid and also much more recognizable within Europe.
What do you think, what do you get out of the art scene in Vienna? Do you get something out of it?
Yes. Otherwise, I mean, I was, there are some personal causes why I'm living here still, but I'm kids and stuff. But actually, I always had this tandem Vienna-Berlin. I was like living half of the year in Berlin, half of the year traveling, had a flat here and there. I don't have it anymore in Berlin because Berlin is not what it was. But Vienna, as you said, has been gaining quality in amazing numbers actually. And I have to say, I mean, it depends what you are doing, but as I'm also, one of my focuses are also on art and science and the combination of this. And especially for this, you also have a very interesting audience here. I mean, it's always hard to make art if there is an audience for it. And I guess you have this because I've been working in Bratislava as well, and in Bratislava I always have the feeling for complicated arts. You have no audience. You can do it. You have people who can, curators maybe or promoters who are interested in it and will do it, but they will always say, it makes no sense to do it here. It's better to do it in Vienna because there you have the audience, and so it's always. And yeah, and I have the feeling that, of course it depends. No? But I mean, I just wanted to say that if to make a place like a vivid space for arts, it also needs the whole context. It needs also the people around it. And the thing is that I mean, you have lots of universities in Vienna. You have lots of international people here, and you have. Excuse me, just to finish the sentence. You have a long tradition, you know, you just need to mention a few people, a long tradition of intellectual life from Karl Kraus to Quaiting. So there is a very strong intellectual scene in Vienna, which is very small but strong. And this, around this, you have like an onion, no? A Gamben model. You have a quite highly intellectual society within the society, and so it's like and all this. You just need to think. If you think about the '60s and all these art circles, and stuff. So there is lots of. And if you just go in a bar or something, you find somebody totally drunk, but then he's speaking Latin, and then you see, okay. So you have a very high level of education on an interesting level. So Vienna has this atmosphere of these things. Of course, to be successful, you need the international ground. You need Europe, because in Vienna they will never let you become bigger than this.
Only after you're dead.
I would like to add one thing to your point, because you mentioned like at the edge of art and science, and this field where there is a big platform here, but it doesn't. There's more than the platform, because there's also a lot of funding here, and because without the funding, this whole platform wouldn't exist, and artists couldn't produce work in this field. Even this is a different topic, of course, talking about funding in the field of art and science, but nevertheless, there is far more accessible money here for artists to work in that field, and that also nourishes this whole topic.
Yes, but excuse me, just to Stockholm. Stockholm has much more fun.
Yeah, I know. I know.
The scene is not that. It's not interesting.
Same as Sweden.
Same as Norway. They had a show in Oslo. They told me you get 2,500 euros a month if you, as an artist, if you agree to go into the woods and stay in some remote area. Because why is Stockholm, why is Oslo, very interesting and great artists live. Why is the scene not like this vibrant? Not enough foreigners, not enough migrants.
Not enough people, maybe. I mean, there are huge areas and very few people. 4 million people living on this in Oslo, in Norway, and 10 million people living on the size of in the country the size of Spain. This is one thing. On the other side, it's also. I mean, if I would choose to live in Sweden now, I would probably go to Gothenburg, not to Stockholm, because Stockholm is like Zurich. It's a financial capital, and of course, I mean, the pop and music scene is excellent. If you have managers, if you want to become a pop star, you go to Stockholm, because you get, in the moment you live there, you have the rights to use the studios for free and stuff like this, and you get promoters, and that's why there is so much pop culture coming from Sweden. And so this is one thing, but on the other hand, you have galleries. They are selling landscape aquarels from the sea. This is what the people want, and you have there is also, of course, an art scene and an intellectual scene. But in comparison to Vienna, it's like the difference from the size from the sun and the earth. You know, it's like it's so small, and everybody told me, "What the fuck are you doing here? You have a flat in Vienna. Go back."
Pretty much, I can address this with Finland, because then even artists have to pay a lot, to galleries that they can exhibit there. So there are different moduses on exhibiting for the artists. On the other hand, there's a lot of funding, but obviously
audience is missing. So there's no society for it, because the people they're going in for sports and stuff like this, and then they say, nice art. It is. I mean, I had a little bit of this feeling in the Netherlands too. So I was there on a residency for like 4 months or something in Eindhoven, and I was ending up like only running turntables without I was really doing shit because I was really fed up with this. Ah, great, nice, nice. And said, okay, I kick your ass. Ah, nice, great.
If somebody say you make shit, then start.
Yeah,
because
I was really
you
like,
would like to make your best, yeah?
I could not.
Yes. It's contra you.
There was no contra. No, because the artist, great. So, to you, this is this kind of like liberal society, you know, society, tolerant liberal societies. You have no confrontation.
That's a very good idea.
You feel like in a...
It's a very good observation.
That's
really.
You're an artist. You can do what you want. So this is also something, and if you want confrontation in Vienna, you can still.
Of course.
We're talking about provocation. It's almost impossible to make a provocation in Sweden or even in the Netherlands. No? It's so. I mean, you can do what you want because in the moment that you have the stamp artist, he's an artist, no?
It's your therapy,
no?
And you are crazy.
So,
and
yes,
your therapy.
Exactly. So
don't touch us.
They look at you as being a little bit, you're a bit strange, and this is nice. But you make nice pictures. We will put it on the wall, but we won't hang it like this because this is not nice. And then they will keep saying, you know what I mean? This is, and so this is a very. That's why I don't live in Sweden.
It's funny because also in Bratislava it's changing the scene, like you say, because under, I don't know, 30 years ago, you can provoke with everything, really. If I go like this, I make a very big provocation. But it's changing. But I think it's global things. Because, you know,
So there were, you both mentioned two things. One was funding and one was infrastructure. And this, I think, is really a strong point of Vienna because the same thing I was told by Stefan Sagmeister. He lives in New York, and he told me there is nothing like this small mug, but it's like a museum, and there even contemporary artists are shown, and in other countries around, so you have no funding, so it's really hard to exist. And do you think that these two things, funding and infrastructure, really make the art scene better, make better artists?
But the question of the funding is very strange there.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of 90s, because I finished at end of 90s my academy, I studied after in French, in the second diploma, after I made my doctorate, etc. But at the 90s was nothing, nothing. Even you make painting, you cannot live, because nobody interested in 90s in Slovakia for the art, you know. They would like to make big cars, whatever.
Yes.
My daughter, you know, really stupid was on the beginning in 90s. But it was explosion of energy in 90s in Slovakia. It was enormous. But when I started to study in French in 97, and in Dijon, and the people was and in Slovakia was totally eruption of the energy, really big one, and was for me was really something totally different world. But now it's more, also it's in Bratislava, it's different. Okay.
You're becoming more wealthy, no?
Yeah.
As maybe it's your idea, everything's okay, you don't want provocation, you cannot be hard or contra or something, yeah. And it was any fundraising, only one, it was sort of open society, yeah, and was not too much, but I always found some people to support me, always found. And after 2000, in Slovakia it's open more for paintings, you know, traditional photography, not too much, you know, performance doesn't exist, you know. Then start slowly, yeah. But now it's better, now it's more creative. But sometimes I feel very depending for the, if I need some grant, some for funding. I know what kind of idea is to write, you know. I know exactly. I doesn't feel such a free. And this is my question for you: how you feel about this politic of the financing?
That's a really boring topic, right? I mean, of course, that's what we call application lyrics. No? Yes. I mean, this is like the older you get, the better you know what you have to write to get, and then you even can predict. Okay, I had to do this project, but I will just get half of it because I was writing this, but I have to say it because otherwise I can't do it. But you already can predict if it will be, how successful it will be or not. And then, of course, you have to. I mean, the structures of the curatorial structures in Vienna, for example, on funding is changing. I mean, formally it's changing every year because the city of Vienna likes to make more problems. But it's complicated, but there are strategies to get through it somehow, and then I'm happy that I'm not 22 now, because this is horrible. Because it's this story like, what have you done? And you don't have done anything, then you're already like in the cellar and say, but how can you? Because you go to school if you've done something, whatever. So, but they try to work on it, and I guess they have really, now we have a new politician, we have Kauf Hasler.
Yes.
So she is really willing to change, but I've been talking to her also, and she told me also it's not so easy because the system is very, very strong. So
what could improve? What would your ideas?
I think one big criticism from my side is that, for example, if you apply, if you do a big application, then you work for really a lot of amount of time on that. It's not like writing it for 1 week. If you really apply for a bigger funding, then you write for a couple of weeks, if not months. And then you prepare such a long time for that, and then you don't even know if you get it. But this is another thing. But then, for example, if I apply, like for example, to mention the PEAK program, I'm sure you are familiar with that. It's a program applying for a big grant for art and science projects. And if you apply for that, you work really for weeks, if not months. Then you don't know for another year if you get it or not. That means there's such a long process of pre-time or like application time and so on. But you have to plan, you know, as an artist, how you live, which projects you're doing, which exhibitions you're doing, how you're planning actually your future life for the next few years. And this is very difficult because this is such a rigid form of application.
And how could it improve?
It could be improved that the whole process is far more, it's far quicker. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think it's a very long procedure, and it's very difficult for artists.
But there is something else also. For example, in Vienna, in Austria, also in parts of Germany, in southern Germany, there is no art management. No, I mean real art management.
Yes.
We have management for on the high level, for museums and for the Philharmonic Orchestra and stuff like this. but there is no, if you need somebody to help you with management, a real manager or producer, you have to go to Tilburg, you have to go to the, so that is one of the big problems, and it's also why, for example, Austria and also big parts of Germany